let me call this meeting to order Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020 of the Fall River Redevelopment Authority. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. We're aware that this meeting is being recorded by Fall River Educational TV. At this time, we'd like to know whether or not those present can hear me clearly. If not, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay. John, you can hear me, right?
I can, Joe. Thanks.
Okay, good. All right, so that's fine. All right, with that in mind, I'd like to take a attendance roll call, starting, well, in my left-hand corner. Joe Marshall here. Sarah?
Sarah Page here.
Johnny Erickson here, present.
Joan Maderas here.
Ann Keen here.
And Luis Gonzalez indicated he would not be at this meeting.
And John Coughlin present.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is approval of open session meetings from November 18th and December 11th. Is there a motion by anyone?
I move we accept the meeting minutes.
State your name too, John, for the
John Erickson.
Okay. Second?
Joan Maderas second.
Okay. All in favor? Joe Marshall, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
John?
Johnny Erickson, yes.
Joan Maderas, yes.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the warrant and financial report. Is there any discussion, any questions, or a motion to accept it?
Well, I think this needs to be modified because we only have a warrant, but we don't have a financial report.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the warrants? Thank you, Joan. Any questions on the warrants that are before you? No?
No, I have no questions on the items to be paid under the
Okay.
warrant.
All right. Is there a motion to accept those to be paid?
I move we accept the pay the warrant.
Second?
Joan Maderas second to
Okay.
approve the warrant.
Okay. All in favor? Joe Marshall, aye.
Ann Keen, aye.
Johnny Erickson, aye.
Joan Maderas, aye.
Okay, and John, and again, Luis is not in attendance. So moved. The next item, I'm pleased to say, is the Executive Director's Report. The items are there on the agenda, but why don't you go right into that and do one at a time, Sarah, and add anything that needs to be done.
Great. So we wanted to, I talked with John Coughlin about this, and there have been a couple of situations where we've really needed to pay bills in between board meetings. And we don't have a real policy on that. And so I would like to propose that we do something similar to what we did when we had an insurance bill. Just when I came on board, there was an insurance bill that had to be paid or the insurance would be suspended. And so we had two board members who were signers on the checks agree that this was essential to be paid. And then when I developed the warrant, I put on there why they had been paid early and how it was a critical need that we do that. And so I propose that we have a similar policy so that when there are things that come between board meetings, we can go ahead in that way.
Well, question, Sarah, what specifically is going to change as opposed to what we did in the past?
Well, we don't pay any bill
Correct.
unless it's approved by the board through a warrant. And given that we have 2 board members signing every check, there's already a real check and balance. And we would only do that when there's something really that has not been paid, unintentionally, or, something's come up that really needs to be paid quickly.
But it won't be normal practice. What you're saying is you want the full board approval in those particular cases. You want authority to do that,
Right.
correct?
Not,
But shouldn't we be writing a policy around this? To have
yes,
some criteria as to why we would be doing this as an exception?
yep. So why don't I write something up and we can actually look at that at the next meeting?
Yeah, and at the next meeting, we'll vote on that new policy.
Right.
That would
If we don't have one already that we're not aware of, but I don't think we are.
Yeah, I was trying to find one and we'll still look for that.
Ann or John, you don't recall anything like that coming up, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, then we'll start at the beginning then. Okay,
I mean, you could do it two ways. You could do, and we'll talk about the details. You could do a policy that certain bills up to a certain dollar amount can be paid between meetings, and then, in case of an emergency, if there's a bill that's due by a deadline with certain criteria or something, we
Mhm,
come up with
okay.
something.
Well, the policy will entail that though.
Yep.
Okay, all right. All right,
Great.
please continue.
Okay, so we want to do an update on the City Pier project, and I'll invite Johnny to add to what I have to say. It's out to bid. It was a little more challenging than we expected. We had some unexpected input that led us to make some design changes really close to having it go out to bid. And we were able to still achieve that and get it out to bid on the date that we had advertised. And we have a pre-bid conference coming up and a site visit the week right after New Year's. And the bids are due, I believe it's on the 21st. And we have 11 companies who've asked for the bid
Wow.
package.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah, most of them are local. One is
Good.
from Quebec. And yeah, it's a good response.
That is good.
And then one of the challenges to the to getting it out to bid was questions about the estimated cost of the railings. And so we've agreed that we're going to do a real budget on the master plan. We're going to look at the master plan, do a real budget for it, and Beta's going to work on that in early January, and we'll work through that so that we have a clear sense of how all these pieces will come together.
Good.
The really good news that came yesterday, I guess, is that the EPA has gotten back to us. We were afraid they might not get back to us for a couple of months, and their response is pretty reasonable. It doesn't require major changes, which is excellent. And so Beta has written a response, which is mostly explaining things they wanted explained. The one area that we need to think about and decide is that there's a question about putting a limitation on the area that is where the contaminated soil has been concentrated on the site. And now they're saying that they would like that expanded to the entire site. And so we want to talk about the implications of that. And, we need to think about that and make a decision. But we aren't really ready to do that because we just got it yesterday.
Right, okay. John, you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, in terms of the last item that Sarah was just talking about, it entailed extending the AUL to cover the south part of the pier.
Right, yeah,
And I did speak with Mary Lou from Beta today, and we went through the different items. Maybe you guys got a chance to see the responses that Joe McLaughlin wrote.
Yes.
It was pretty, there wasn't any surprises or anything in there.
right,
Some of the things that Kim asked about were actually in the report, and he sort of clarified where to find them. And, but the extending the AUL to cover this South Pier it's not a big deal. So they're going to get back to us on the details of that.
Good. Good.
And I know there's going to be some more bidders coming because there was some other interest. And Sarah and I were talking today about how we can tap into that. It's kind of a moving target. Did we ever figure that out, Sarah?
No, I contacted,
Eric?
Eric, well, I contacted, his assistant, the other person we've been dealing with. And they said that they're going on vacation for, they're leaving the office, and I don't know that there is a link. I think that they have to send us updated lists.
Okay.
And I asked for an updated list, and they just said there have been 11 requests.
Okay.
all right. You had when is the date when bids will no longer be accepted? Do you have that available, Sarah?
I think it's the 22nd, isn't it?
Oh, we got time, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
I couldn't remember if it was the 21st or 22nd, and
Yeah, it's one of those two.
okay, not a problem.
it got changed, and
It's in the bid package anyway, but
yes.
I was curious, 11 is a lot. Any other discussion, any questions on that issue by anyone? No? Okay, Sarah, please.
So the next item is the Armory Building, and we'll get into that. I think I'll just leave that. That was third on the agenda, but I do want to update you on a few other things.
Okay,
So I've been working with our bookkeeper and our auditor to finish the 2019 audit. And I did get a financial report from our bookkeeper, but I felt like there were things that I didn't understand in it and didn't want to send it out in that way. So I'm going to work through that with her, really compare these financial statements she's developed to the 2018 audit, the draft of the 2019 that we're in the process of developing, and you'll have a complete financial report in January.
okay. Good.
So it will be great to get the 2019 audit done, and I believe that they're doing so much work. They have to confirm that they have to confirm a number of activities in 2020 to give their opinion. So they will have a lot of the work done for the 2020 audit, I believe.
Mhm.
And so my hope is that we can go from 2019 right into 2020 and really get on back on track with a schedule. Let's see. Oh, I just wanted to say that I really had a good meeting with Mike O'Sullivan, the director of the chamber, the Fall River Chamber. And that was before COVID had really spiked again in Massachusetts. So we were able to have a nice lunch and really got to talk with him about a number of issues. He's very involved in the TDI, the Transformative Development Initiative Partnership. And we talked about how that serves the downtown and that there may not really be a similar collaborative effort going on along the waterfront, even though we know people there are connecting the Narrows and some of the other activities. So we talked about the importance of my getting connected with the groups working down there. Now that we're moving ahead with the Liberty property and the pier, we're going to really be involved in waterfront activity, and it will make sense to really have a collaborative effort with the other organizations that are there so that we have real linked plans. And I think that, oh, there are grants coming up. I was on a conference call that Mass Development had really announcing a new round of Creative Catalyst grants, which aren't something we would apply for, but members of the collaborative who are involved in arts and culture will be applying. And then there were a number of other grants mentioned, and Jane, the grant writer for the city, and Bill Kenny and I are going to be on a call in January where there are going to be a number of state grants that will be announced. And so we're kind of collaboratively looking at the grants that may be available.
Nice.
So that's my report.
Oh, Sarah, what about the Armory?
Oh, right, the
Yeah,
Armory.
get back to that.
Yeah. Getting back to that, the Armory, the MOU with the city was signed, and I have to give John Coughlin and Bill Kenny lots of kudos for really moving that project along. And we have Emily Innes, who worked in the past for the Cecil Group, that was involved in the urban renewal plans, and then she was with Harriman when Cecil merged with Harriman, and she now has gone out on her own. And we have a proposal from her that was sent out so that she could update the urban renewal plan to include the Armory, which is, and then DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development, has to approve that. So we're working ahead on that and want to hear your input on that proposal from her.
Well, let me, I'll kind of move it along. I'd like to hear from John Coughlin to give the board and the public an idea of what the expectation is after the MOU. John, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So the next step is the Redevelopment Authority needs to send an amendment to the Downtown Urban Renewal Plan up to DHCD for their review and approval to include this property as part of the disposition parcels. And then assuming that that's approved, then we need to follow the procedure for disposing of property under the urban renewal regulations, which requires an appraisal, a land disposition agreement.
Good.
All of that has to be sent to DHCD for review and approval. And then assuming that all of that happens, then we would be in a position to have the deed from the city come to the Redevelopment Authority, and then the Redevelopment Authority would then have a closing with the private developer to purchase and develop the Armory. So those are kind of the next steps. The first step, though, is getting this urban renewal plan amended. And I think that's where the next item on the agenda, number 5, comes into play.
Correct. Yeah, and that's where Sarah was going, I think, was the purpose of that. So is there any discussion on entering into an agreement with Innes Associates for consulting services on the downtown urban renewal plan? And the first charge would be to deal with the Armory, for the purpose of dealing with the Armory. Is there a recommendation? John, would you, I know you can't say, yeah, you should enter into a service, but we need to have the urban renewal plan amended for this to work, correct?
Correct, and I think we requested this proposal from
Perfect,
Emily, and that's
okay.
why we received it.
All right, good.
And I think the thought was just to have another member on the team to
Yep.
get all of this through DHCD. Since she was involved in the original preparation and approval of the downtown urban renewal plan, it made sense to use her again. Harriman no longer has an urban renewal department, so
Right.
I think Emily's off on her own. It's a pretty short money. The contract it doesn't exceed like $4,000 or $5,000, I think,
Mhm.
total.
Right.
We can also, if we sell the property, if you remember under the MOU, we get to deduct our costs of, closing and other items
Mhm.
from the sale price. So we could include this as one of the items that we would deduct as part of our expenses of completing the project. So
Correct.
I just think it would be very helpful to have somebody like that on board. There's going to be a lot of interaction with DHCD over the next couple of months. And, DHCD is working remotely and trying to get their attention and trying to get the right person to look at it and approve it. And Emily has a lot of experience with that. So I
Good.
just think it would be very helpful for us to bring her on board, at least for this one project. And we can always decide after that if we want to continue, but at least for this,
Right.
it makes sense.
So
Okay.
we'd be hiring her for this project only at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Would it be appropriate to, because we're going to accept the director's report, but specifically, would it be appropriate for us to take a board vote on this particular issue?
Yeah, I think a vote
Yeah.
to authorize the chair to execute a contract with Inez Associates Limited. I'll come up with the form of the contract. This is the proposal, so this would be the essential terms, but I can get you something to sign and get her on board, fairly quickly so we can get moving on this.
Sure.
Because it's gonna take a while to get all this stuff through DHCD, so.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize me to enter into an agreement with Inesh for this particular project? And everybody will get a copy of the agreement.
Joan Maderis, yes, a motion to have the chair of the board enter into negotiation for contract with Inez Associates for the for the urban renewal plan to include the Armory property.
Is there a second?
Second, Johnny Erickson.
Second, Johnny Erickson. All in favor, Joe Marshall, yes.
Joan
Right.
Maderis, yes.
Ann?
You're
Ann,
muted.
what's that?
Ann's muted.
Oh, yeah, Ann, you're
Sorry about
muted.
that.
We knew what
Ann
you meant,
Keen,
though.
yes.
Okay. Johnny, you want to
Oh,
vote?
yeah, yes.
Johnny Erickson, yes. Okay, all in favor? No, so moved. So it's moved. Anything else on your agenda, Sarah? Your
No,
report? Okay, then, hearing no other news, is there a motion to accept Sarah's executive director's report?
I move we accept the report. I did have one quick question.
I'll do that first.
Did we have did we have to get an appraisal on the Armory at some point in there, John? Some point? in
Yeah,
the
we
pro-
will. So assuming we get the urban renewal plan amended,
That's what it is.
then the next step is we need DHCD approval to sell the property, and that includes an appraisal and a land disposition agreement.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to get that done, and I think we've talked about the appraisal it's a unique appraisal when you sell real estate under an urban renewal plan, because it has to take into account the purpose of the plan, the restrictions on the property. So Emily has some appraisers that, that have done this kind of project before. So she may be helpful in that piece too, but we do need to get that as part of the process.
That'll be part of it. Okay. Is there a motion to accept Sarah's report? As is.
Yes, I moved to accept Sarah's executive report.
John, could you state your name for the record too, please? I'm sorry.
Johnny Erickson.
Okay. Second?
Joan
Yeah.
Maderis, second.
Okay. All in favor, Joe Marshall, aye.
Johnny Erickson, aye.
Joan
Ann
Maderis,
Keen.
aye.
You guys are conflicting. Could one of you say it again? I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Joan Maderis, aye.
Ann?
Ann Keen, aye.
All right. All right, so moved. That's unanimous. At this point, is there a motion to go into executive session with the understanding that I think we will come out of executive session?
Well, wait a minute, Joe, we have item 6 that hasn't been discussed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had written over that. Okay, thank you. Item 6 is discuss recent interest, very good, in land on Innovation Way and Commerce Drive, including properties developed on a speculative basis and for distribution facilities. Well, again, those are, what kind of discussion do you want to have? I mean, those are executive session issues if we're gonna.
Well,
Yeah,
If
well,
we're
they
gonna
are.
name,
The reason that I put this on there is
Yeah.
just that the question has arisen as a broad question. As we've heard about interest, we've gotten offers, we've also heard about other interest, that what is desperately needed right now that developers are looking for is land for distribution facilities. And we've been concerned about the number of jobs that those would actually bring. And there seems to be a difference of opinion about some of them would bring a lot of jobs. And I think we should look more into that. And then the whole issue of development on a speculative basis. We really are holding out for companies that we know what company is going to go into the facility. And we're getting a lot of interest from people who are saying, well, we want to develop it. And, I've heard a number of times that companies are going to development companies saying, I need this facility in 3 months. And so that's kind of a new demand that developers are wanting to address. And that's why there is a lot of interest across all the industrial parks. There's interest in having developers develop the property so that it's ready quickly, instead of a company saying, well, I'm going to develop a facility that we'll be able to use in 2 years. So I just wanted to share that because I think we've been surprised by this new wave of interest for distribution. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there broadly because the offers that we have, offers that we may be getting, seem to be focused in that way.
and you're looking for some type of direction, correct?
Well, I'm not saying that I expect the board to give that direction now. I just think that it's something that we should explore and learn more about and have a clearer sense of under what circumstances would we accept an offer that is speculative, that is for distribution, or would we not? And as I've been talking with people, people have argued that we already have, well, we do know we have distribution facilities in the Science and Technology Park, but I got the sense that there are some that we wouldn't have even thought are really distribution that in fact may be. And so it just seems like a whole area that we should take a look at.
Okay, good. Any further discussion on that topic?
no,
Okay, good. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Now I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session with the understanding that we'll come out of executive session right after.
So Joe, for those three, we have 3 items.
Yes.
Under 7. So we have, under 3821A7 to approve the executive session minutes. Under
Yep.
21A7 to review RFP 2107. And
Yes.
then under 21A6 to discuss real estate proposals at Innovation Way.
Correct.
So for that third one, we need you to make a finding that having an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, if we could make that finding first.
Okay, I can do that. Should I do it now or when we get to it?
Sure, yep, you can do it now.
Okay, so exactly what John Coughlin just said. The third item, we are in executive session because anything other than executive session would be detrimental to the purpose for which the discussion would take place.
And
That's
then we need a roll call vote that will return to open session after the executive.
correct,
session.
okay. May I have a roll call vote that we will be going into back into session after the executive session?
I move, Johnny Erickson, I move we move to executive. session.
Yes, second,
And Joan Maderis.
Joan Maderis, all in favor, Joe Marshall, aye.
Johnny Erickson, aye.
Joan Maderis, aye.
Ann Keen, aye.
Okay, so moved. So we will go out of executive session after we've discussed those three items. Okay, thank you. I'm going to, we're coming back into open meeting. I'm going to take a roll call again for those that are back in attendance, starting with me, Joe Marshall here.
Ian is now on the left, so she should go next.
Okay.
She somehow moved up there.
Ann Keen here.
Johnny Erickson here.
Joan Maderis here.
Sarah
Sarah Page,
and John?
John Coughlin here.
Okay, good. All right, we have one other item to bring up. It's the award of the RFP 2107 for administrative services to the Fall River Redevelopment Authority.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm moving to award BCEDC the contract under RFP 2107, as they had the highest ranking from the board on the evaluation and also had the lowest cost. And I'd like to authorize the chair to execute a contract with BCEDC.
Okay, is there a second to that motion or any discussion?
Second to the motion, Joan Maderis.
Second to the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye with your name. Joe Marshall, aye.
Ann Keen, aye.
Johnny Erickson, aye.
Joan Maderis, aye.
So moved. John, can I ask you, I guess through Sarah, to contact BCEDC and indicate that they were awarded the contract?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move for
Joan
adjournment.
Maderis,
Joan Maderis.
second?
Johnny Erickson, second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Joe Marshall, aye.
Ann Keen, aye.
Johnny Erickson, aye.
Joan Maderis, aye.
Okay, so adjourned.